Well, if there is an international register of historic places, Circuit Zandvoort would certainly be one of those racetracks. And although its layout has changed nearly a dozen times in its history, it still remains one of the most challenging circuits on the calendar of any international race series. It still retains the GP of Formula One here in the Netherlands, but tonight it's host to the Washington, D.C. region Virtual Racing League as we head to another virtual SCCA event, round number 4 of the season, with our Formula 4 cars. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer, joined by Finney and DeCuna at a fun racetrack for open wheel cars. This place, brand new, rescanned, redone at iRacing. It looks the part, absolutely, and it races fantastic. It's a fast racetrack, Finney, and glad to be aboard.
Yeah, I was going to say the changes that came to the update for Zandvoort really helped the racing. It was a fantastic track to lap prior to that, but it was so hard to pass, and for the most part, it is still very hard to pass. But that being said, with the reconfiguration of turn 3 and, of course, the final corner, making it almost like a NASCAR-style corner right there, you can see right on the B-roll, looks like something on the NASCAR circuit. It really makes this track a lot easier to make some moves and makes drivers a little bit more aggressive, and it makes the racing a lot more exciting to watch.
Yeah, we got one single 30-minute race tonight. Just under 20 cars entering here. The car counts have been down a little bit from the previous season, Finney, but that doesn't mean the action has been any less exciting at the front of the field. DJ Alessandrini, Andrew Pilata, they have been treating us a mighty treat the last couple of weeks. Think back to their battle at Okayama just a few weeks ago, and of course, Ken Hausiel, can't count him out. How about Jack Chrissy as well, up on provisional pole at the moment as we head down to the racetrack. Qualifying is already underway, and Jack Chrissy right now at the pointy end. We'll see if it can stand and see if it can last. With such short races and intense action, qualifying is so important to get right.
Yeah, and again, I think out of all the tracks we have on the calendar, I think this is probably going to be one of those places where qualifying is going to be the most important for these drivers. You do not want to be starting, back in 15th for this race. You're going to want to be starting up in the front as much as you can. It's passing is possible, but passing is going to come at a premium. Jack Chrissy currently sitting on provisional pole. DJ Alessandrini trying to see if he can usurp Chrissy. He's not that far behind, only 800ths of a second in behind in the 61 machines. He's working through the back half of the track. He's on the 3rd of his 4 time laps.
If I had a single word to describe this racetrack, and maybe I'm going to cheat and use a compound word, I'd say it's high commitment. There's so many places here that you have to really charge to carry speed. And then there's this section here through, I think it's turns 9 and 10. Really challenging because you see DJ fighting the wheel here. It's so flat, and you don't have any downforce to lean on like you have in some of the other corners of the racetrack, and it throws a bit of everything at you. One thing it doesn't have, though, is any corners that are straightforward.
Yeah, you're absolutely right when you say that it requires a lot of commitment. There's points of this track, especially in Sector 1, especially in the back half of Sector 2. You basically have to throw the car into the corner, into a lot of blind corners, mind you, and you just kind of have to hope that it's 6. In these open wheel cars, you have to rely on that downforce, what little there is, what little mechanical grip there is, and just kind of hope for the best, hope that things play out. As you look at Ken Hausiel working on the front straightaway out of the final bank corner. Across the line for him, he's currently sitting in 3rd, trying to close the gap to the front 2. At least in qualifying, he will close that gap but not make a move. He's down now 2/10 away from Jack Chrissy.
Yeah, and only about a 10th and a half back from DJ Alessandrini, who's gone back to the pit lane to maybe try again. Andrew Pilata, we have not yet quite seen the pace out of this car I think we'd expect to see. He's been a front runner the last handful of weeks alongside DJ Alessandrini. Big lockup into turn 1, and that's the other thing. We see a lot of lockups here into some of these tighter corners because the entries are so fast. There's banking to lean on at turns 1, turn 3, and then of course that final turn, but some of these you have to drive in so hard, and you can't really run along the bottom because you'll bottom the car out. You kind of have to take that top lane and charge it even harder, and I mentioned those high commitment corners. Turn 3 is absolutely one of them.
Yeah, turn 3, and then coming up here, this flowing downhill right-hander as well. Talk about commitment. You can't see the rest of this corner. You just kind of throw the car in and just hope that you timed it right. Your turn-in point, your braking, the off-throttle to get it going, and then these next 2 corners, turn 7 and 8 into 9. Right here, and 9 and 10 you mentioned before, really difficult, and because these corners are very deceiving, you don't realize it, but they're almost two hairpins attached to each other, but because the corners just go forever, and then especially in turn 10 you can see these guys struggling with the rear end of the car, fighting it, trying to get back on the power.
I think for me it reminds me so much, if you can maybe relate this to an oval track, of corners at New Hampshire. you're going essentially 180 degrees. The track's very flat. You want to charge it because the corner looks very wide, but then the rear end wants to swap ends on you, or you just drive straight off the racetrack. It doesn't feel like there's an in-between, and for whatever reason, it's a pretty challenging turn. Pilata going to bail out on that lap as well.
And that was his final one, too, so he's done.
Man. Al Sandrini's got one in the bank. I think he could go one more time. Adam Kobach's finishing his final lap now. Have a look at the weather as well. Cool track temps and cloudy, and Kobach almost made it a dark day out there, didn't he? Swerving towards the wall. And
I guess didn't feel like there was nothing to be gained on that lap. Just had a little bit of fun coming to the line, so he's done. Most of the drivers for qualifying are done. If you look here, that is the 0-2.
Todd Russian. I wanted to point out the entrance to this turn 3. Watch the car on entry right there. Big rotation, and he countered it, but also the banking helped catch him there. And there's such a huge variety of different kinds of corners, with banking, without banking, tight radii, big radii. There's a little bit of everything here at this racetrack, and you're going to have to be extremely aggressive tonight to make up any passes here. It can be a tricky place to overtake. New driver, Mr. Mercado here in the number 27. Is brand new to this series. Just got into the league minutes before this session even opened, so this will be interesting to see.
Yeah, really interesting to see his pace. And, you mentioned that, the driver count's been relatively small for this season, but we definitely have, I would say, quality over quantity. We had a really good pool of drivers, like you mentioned in the past. They've put on some fantastic racing throughout the season, that we've had some side-to-side battles all throughout the calendar. And we'll see what we have a new entry here, Mercado, what he can do as he's working in qualifying on lap 2. So still has a decent amount of time to put another lap on. And also DJ, we talked about him. He had time to get a lap out there, and he is out there on the track. He's about to start his final time lap, his final chance to reclaim pole from Jack Chrissy.
Yeah, only needs a 10th, which is time I think he is going to be able to find, most likely, based on his track record so far this season. 134.082 is his best. Jack Christie's in the 33.979. And then having a look at the weather, the track temp has dropped 3 or 4 degrees since the start of the session, so that should help in its own right. He's already up that 10th, and he'll likely be able to carry it on for the rest of the lap, but we'll see if he can have the commitment necessary to do just that. Great shot there over turn 3, that high bank corner. That's a challenging one. The other banked corners, turns 1 and then the final corner. One's kind of more of a hairpin that you have to stop for, and the other is essentially flat out. Turn 3 is kind of both. You have to slow down for it, but you have to charge it really hard.
Yeah, it really does. He works now through the back part of the course. DJ Alessandrini, I think, if I'm not mistaken, has started on pole for the first 3 rounds of this season. So try to see if he can carry that onwards here. At the moment, looks like that record might be broken if Chrissy's time stands. DJ is looking about a 10th up on Jack Chrissy, so this is going to come down to the wire here.
Yeah, it's fluctuating between up a little bit and nothing. So we'll see what things will pan out for him. Wow, big lunge into the chicane.
You can lose a lot of time by... You can lose a lot or you can gain a lot.
Yeah, I think he gained that time as he heads off into the final corner here. This is such a cool corner that leads up to the high banks, and then right here, in these cars, easy flat. And most cars easy flat, to be honest, but watch that jump on corner exit. He's going to say tight right. He's up almost half a second now. This should be clear by a mile.
We'll see. We'll see across the line for him, Alessandrini.
Yeah.
He will go and up to pole by 0.003 of a second.
It wasn't by a mile, but it was more like a meter, if that.
Yeah, I saw it on my timing screen. I saw it fluctuating the pace between a 10th and then nothing, and it kept kind of flashing back and forth. And we saw right there, by barely anything, he'll get ahead of Jack Chrissy. As Richard Sawicki works across the line, he's been waiting to get some times in. Still has a little bit of time left on the clock to get more laps on the board. He comes flying across the start-finish line. He will not improve, I think, because he's starting a lap.
Yeah, looks like it. And, man, I bet you that will make Jack Chrissy mad.
Oh, it would make me extremely mad, especially because not only did DJ pass him by such a small margin, but he also waited right till the end of the session. Well, Jack thought he had it for most of this qualifying session.
And that's the strategy of waiting for the track temp to drop, right? If you add 3 or 4 degrees of track temp back to the equation, I don't think DJ has that pole. So, we always see this on the oval side of iRacing, where drivers will sit in pit lane and just kind of wait for the session to move on. But yeah, I mean, it's a good strategy. Wait for the track to cool off and go back out there and run a quicker lap. It seems to be the way to get pole. But you do risk that, because if you make a mistake and you have to try again, you run yourself out of time.
Yeah, you absolutely can, as you look at Mercado trying to still get a decent time up there. Still back in 16th, about 2 seconds off the pace. We'll see if he can get a faster lap. This will actually be his final attempt at getting a time in. He's looking a couple tenths up, so might jump to maybe 14th, 13th, depending on how he gets this final corner.
Do have to question the red wheels and green and black livery sort of thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if he had green wheels, I think that would look pretty, and even the number too, the red number, I don't necessarily agree with.
That's definitely not Monster Jam, but it certainly looks like Gravedigger. As Mercado jumps up to 14th ahead of Talas Sadiq, who had a pretty poor qualifying effort. That was not what he wanted to see. And all drivers have put in a time. Do we skip this last minute now? Is that how this works? I forget.
Potentially. I think some of them might still are technically eligible. They haven't finished their lap, so technically they can go for another one. So we're gonna wait out this minute and look at the beautiful scenery around this track.
It really is one of iRacing's best works. I actually think there's tracks that have released after it that look less good, to be honest. I don't know what it is. They've nailed something with this track.
They did a lot of work. If you look at it from above, they did a lot of work on the scenery outside the track, and it really adds to the atmosphere. It generally looks beautiful, because there's a lot of tracks, even with the newer ones, you can tell there's like a fine line where you can tell iRacing kind of just like, it's fine, no one's going to see this part of the track, so they kind of just gave up. But here, you can see off a couple of miles outside the track, and it's very detailed scenery outside the hillside, the town over there, the beach. It looks wonderful.
Yeah, even the waves have a little specular reflection there, despite them not even doing the wave thing. So it is one of iRacing's best works, I think. And honestly, there's some tracks that I had to resort to using B-roll from Flight Simulator just to get something decent looking from high above. Didn't have to do that with this, and I like that trend. And I cannot wait, because in, a week and a half, we're going to get rain and really spice things up. I'm very excited, Finian, because there's a project in the works that you know about behind the scenes. And there are some chaotic evils behind the scenes that cannot wait to dump rain on everybody. So I'm very excited to do that. I can't wait. More information on that coming soon, but it's a big one. Some big news coming on Sim TV. Just can't talk about it quite yet. Down to the racetrack we go, and we'll get a short pace lap before we turn them loose for 30 minutes. That's about 20 laps around here, with the minute and 39-ish, minute 33 second-ish laps. Maybe a bit slower at race pace of these FIA F4 machines. 17 cars take the grid. And we saw a little bit of trouble last time out at Okayama with some turn one collisions, and this track breeds disaster down there. They call it Tarzan for a reason. I'm not sure if it's about drivers swinging down into turn one at speed, but it certainly feels like it sometime.
It definitely is going to feel like it. It's going to feel chaotic. Not only turn one, but turn three, and then in the back half of the track, turns 5 and 6. It gets really chaotic on the opening lap at Zandvoort. We'll see how these guys play, if they're going to play nice.
And starting lineup for tonight, let's kick things off with the front row. It's DJ Alessandrini, the number 61. Jack Chrissy rolls off in second in the number 6.
Moving on to row number 2, Ken O'Seal in the 23 is going to line up next to Andrew Pilata in the 96 in 4th.
And Peter Lausen starts 5th place in the number 1 car. Ryan Carwile rolls off 6th in the number 71.
Adam Kovacs rolling off 7th in the number 85, and next to him, Kevin Zhu in the number 2 in 8th.
Got to tell Kevin Zhu about the sausage curb that's appearing black at one of the corners. I noticed during the qualifying.
I noticed that as well.
Yeah, to tell him about that little glitch. Mike Leader starts 9th in the number 53. Todd Rushing rolls off 10th in the 02.
Moving on back to 11th, to be Francois Brou in the number 69. Next to him, Richard Swicky in the 528 in 12th.
And 13th place is Nathan Brackman in the number 8 car, and Daviel Mercado starts 14th in the number 27.
Al Sadiq's going to be lined up 15th in the number 17 car. Albert No next to him in 16th in the 181. And rounding out our field of 17 starters, Nick Brunei in the number 14 in 17.
Yeah, just 2 drivers have yet to grid. That's Richard Sawicki and Mr. Mercado. And looks like Mercado missed the grid. Sawicki did get on the grid, so we'll have 16 cars for the start of this race here in just a moment's time as the cars sweep through the chicane. Got a little bit of banking down here, too, to assist with some overtaking. This might be one of your best passing opportunities other than turn 1. We were here most recently on Sim TV for a Super Formula race. They had an overtake button, and here that's just called the right pedal.
These guys are going to be wishing they had an overtake button because these things feel so much slower compared to the other open wheel cars on the service.
And passing will be challenging nonetheless. Very slow pace lap here by Alessandrini, bunching the field up as through the trees we'll get a glimpse at the front row here, the 6 on the outside. Ken Hausiel, Andrew Pilata in that second row. This is a track that's going to require some finesse as well. The field doubled up. Look at the banking from that angle. It looks like we're at the Monza Oval for a moment as they come out of the final corner and get set up. 30 minutes time, the DC Region SCCA Virtual Racing League. Round number 4, green flag, and we're racing. Sawicki in the backdrop, already middle, 3 wide as Alessandrini gets a good jump on the field. And nice orderly start back here. A little bit of 3 wide deeper in the pack as Hausiel has a look at Chrissy down here into the first corner.
Yeah, so Richard Sawicki in the middle, 3 wide. It looks like they're going to start back out and they make it through turn 1, but they're still side by side in the middle of the field into turns 2 and 3.
Well, this makes me a little bit nervous here. Up onto the banking for the first time. Cold tires. Todd Rushing almost ran into Koback there as they came together. Mike Leader looking for a place to go, but where do you go right now? This is the fall in line and fall in order part of the lap here before you can have an attack later in the lap.
Yeah, pretty much. You got to be very, very cautious if you even want to attempt double file. It's very tough to go side by side. You can ask me. I've been side by side here in an Indy car, and you definitely want to respect the limits, but it looks like everyone's just kind of working their way out, especially with these colder tires. You don't want to push too hard. Kevin Zhu, I see him on the back of Peter Lausen, who's leading a small train of cars here after the opening 2 corners.
Yeah, first 5 have done a little bit of a breakaway down to Ryan Carwile in P5. Then it's Lausen, who looks to be maybe a cork in the bottle, but he's now beginning to separate himself from Kevin Zhu and Adam Koback. As you pointed out, Zhu having quite the array on his tailpipes here, heading off into the chicane on lap 1.
And into the chicane they go, out they come, and it's all going to be about the run now. They're heading back. 1 more corner before they hit the banking back onto the front straightaway. And it's all about the setup here, getting that run off the corner and then using the slipstream, whatever you can, to get a run into turn 1.
And Chrissy already closing that gap down a couple of tenths of a second. He might not get there on this straightaway, but he will close. Kevin Zhu's going to have to be defensive, and here he is, center of the road. Kovacs going to have a run, but bails out. Mike Leader's going to drive up the outside into turn 1. Big luck up. He's almost off the road, and even Zhu made a little bit of a mistake there.
Yeah, he will save it and keep it going, and will try to get past Todd Rushing, who's trying to make a move in that green 02 car. He'll get shoved to the outside, and the 53 will get past using the inside of the banking. That's all. Tal Sadiq up on the grass on the curb. He'll get 1, maybe 2 spots just by utilizing that significantly better run on the outside lane.
See that camera just swing around the tower like that? That was cool. Nice job setting that camera up. It's like we got a drone pilot here. Todd Rushing on the inside now of Leader as he tries to stop the bleeding around the outside right onto the rumble strips. And as we've learned with these cars, you can't be too aggressive with those exit rumbles. Spin behind him. It's Nathan Brackman.
Oh. Off the track he will go, and he's lucky that this is not actual gravel, so he won't get stuck in it.
Just charged the corner too hard. He might have touched the grass there with the left rear tire, put some load on it, and off he went.
Yeah, these cars are very free on the back end, and we've already seen some drivers struggling with the back end in some of these corners. It's something these guys definitely have to manage and be careful of in this race tonight. Look at Kevin Zhu still trying to work on Lausen, gets really close in that chicane.
You see that wheel snap back right to left? He got loose there, and you have to have such quick hands to keep these things from walking on you. As soon as they get past a certain slip angle, it becomes very challenging to recover, but he did a nice job there. All the while, Alessandrini's not getting away from Jack Chrissy, reels him in closer. This lap was actually 4 tenths quicker.
And gonna try to make a move, doesn't quite get there. He's gonna have to sit back in behind, but he is definitely there. And also Kevin Zhu making a move on Peter Lausen in turn 1 will get past the number 1 machine, but actually Lausen not done yet, still trying to make a move. Will get bullied out just a little bit of Kevin Zhu. Oh, he steps out, almost crashes, but we'll save it.
Look at that, on the outside, 4 cars, line astern. Lausen's going to drop all those spots. I think we went through the telly tower that time. As we go back to the front, and lead battle is on. But this is the part of the lap where you can't really do much other than follow in the tire tracks.
Yeah, you just kind of have to sit in behind and watch how they play it out, and then kind of wait till you get to the back part of the track to make a move.
Sadiq up the inside of Koback. Here comes Leader on the outside. This is a really tricky spot to be side by side. Cars can plow, push, slide, or slip at any point in this complex.
Everything happens to the car. You lose grip in the front, you lose grip in the rears, and the cutoff there is Tal Sadiq cutting off Mike Leader aggressively. He'll hold on to 8th and still try to make a lunge on Koback for 7th. Gets a run on this small straightaway up to the chicane.
Oh, Koback was much later on the brakes. He's going to go the long way in and actually preserve that nicely. Contact. Collision, and they're both involved in it. Leader and Sadiq tangling.
And Sadiq and Leader both losing the rear wing, so they're going to have to come in for repairs on pit road. So replay what happened.
Yeah, the door was open, sort of, but that's mid-corner. I don't know that Leader really should have had the nose in there at that stage. Didn't have overlap before the corner started, and you can't really dive under there and expect room. And they tangle, and then Sadiq just kind of rolled back and...
Wow, they're 3 wide in turn 1 for a second.
They sure are.
And they just sort themselves out. Mike is a Francois Brew, Todd Rushing, Rich Sawicki that were all duking it out 3 wide.
I guess for Tala Sadiq, there's a little bit of solace in, you know, murderer walks in your house, you take him out with you, right? I guess that's... Into the fast section here, Albert No in the 181. Peter Lausen. Just a couple minutes into this race, and things are getting spicy for second as Ken Seals run down Jack Chrissy.
We're only 6 minutes in this race. It's already gotten pretty spicy. Lausen riding aboard with him as he's trying to make up lost ground, what he feels should be his, but he's back in 12th place. As you look at Francois Brew, who's made it 3 wide, made a move up the middle on the front straightaway. I think he might be setting up for potential another run.
Yeah, he gained 1 spot, looking for another. And just keep an eye on the timing screen to see what battles are the most close. Richard Sawicki closing in on Todd Rushing here. Is your closest battle. Alessandrini's kept Chrissy at arm's length, now 0.8 of a second out front. We click to 16 laps to go this time through. Race is decided by time, not laps, but it'll be effectively 30 minutes or 20 laps, whatever comes first.
On board using the slipstream, gets a great run off the banking. Is it enough to make a move? Is he Rushing, holding on to the right? Sawicki going to go left.
Here's your overtake button. See the air down into turn 1, and no Dale Earnhardt that time for Richard Sawicki. He'll have to try it again as Todd Rushing now has him in the side view mirrors. Love the rear wing on these things. They look like one of those like dual tail fin fighter jets. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yes they do.
This battle continues for 8th place. Wiki looking left, looking right. Ooh, see Rushing drop a tire in the dirt. That's what happened earlier to Nathan Brackman down here at this corner. Just watch it right there. See how they use the curb on the left? If you drive off a bit too far to the left and you load that tire up and then turn in, you're going to be turned around backwards in no time.
Yeah, Rushing struggling a little bit through 9 and now through turn 10. And he's effectively the cork in the bottle in this battle for 8th. He's got Sawicki, Brew, No, and Lausen all directly in behind him, so leading a bit of a train.
Into the chicane again, and now you're beginning to see a little bit of what makes Zandvoort challenging. Is you can get close, you can race close, but making an overtake is a lot harder to do than one would presume at first glance here. Side by side is No and Brew. Brew's in the black car, No in the white and pink. Then Lausen driving the long way around of this banked corner. I don't know that there's enough speed to be had up there, but he's going to now slip in behind the 181.
Gets a slightly better run off the corner and gets the slipstream from Albert No up ahead, so that'll definitely help him, and I think should clear Brew. Indeed, will up. He'll clear him, but locks up. Here comes Brew back on the inside, and Brew will get back into 11th.
A tricky corner. They're still doored. Well, side pod to side pod, I suppose. Not really doors. What is going on? Is that Gunther Steiner? It is on the side of Peter Lausen's car.
Yeah, I got glimpses. I saw there were a bunch of heads on the side of his car. I couldn't tell who it was.
Do not blank smash my door, I suppose. Or my side pod. Up in the front, Alessandrini, his gap has remained fairly steady.
Whoa! Should ride on board with him for there. Use counter steering that through turn 10.
Whoa! Yeah, that's what we were talking about. I find that corner the most challenging on the racetrack, bar none. And he's kept Chrissy at arm's length, but he's trying to break through it. Chrissy is, and he's stitched Ken Seals' assault for the moment. That 23 was within 0.2 of a second.
I've been watching the way DJ's been driving around here. I can't help but feel he might be overheating his rears a little bit. He's really pushing those tires. So I'm wondering if Jack Chrissy might have a chance to get back at him, because Chrissy, pretty close to pace. I mean, remember, these guys in qualifying are only separated by 0.03 of a second.
Well, DJ is starting to weave a bit, so I think he might feel some pressure. He's really smooth on the brakes, though. He's not giving up a lot in the braking zones. And I think you're right. If you slide those rear tires enough, you can cause yourself some strife. It looked like he was even pushing the fronts there as well. The question is Chrissy doing the same?
I can't imagine he's going to be pushing that hard in comparison. You're utilizing the slipstream a little bit, just kind of following until let DJ wear himself out.
Keeping him in sight at least. I mean, he's not driven away.
And also not to mention, too, Ken O'Seal right in this battle there, kind of hanging out in third. Just a couple tenths back, waiting for his moment to strike as well. Just kind of riding the coattails of these two. I think he's planning on keeping it quiet till the moment arises.
All that's happening behind battle for 6th between Kevin Zhu and Adam Kobach. Zhu's the lead car, Kobach the trailing. Both red, black, and white cars. Kobach showing some pretty good speed here tonight. Both of these drivers have effectively been stuck in the 7th to 8th range here.
Yeah, Kobach actually technically not going anywhere exactly where he started in 7th place, but it's better than losing a couple of spots.
So frustrating. You spend 30 minutes working so hard, you're sweating, you climb out of the sim, and you finish exactly where you started. You'd almost rather have a bad night. Justify all your hard work. I've been there. Some of the hardest races you'll ever work for, you drop 3 spots. Maybe that's just a me problem, though.
I think it might just be a you problem.
I just know anytime I get in the sim and like, the Daytona 24, the first couple stints, you're doing all right, and then you get into it and you start sweating. Just sweating. I changed 3 times in the 24. Not even a joke. Kind of gross.
Hey, at least in that we started from the bottom. We literally could only got out because I qualified so badly. Qualified 24th and 25 cars.
Always qualify last, so the only place to go is up. Look at this fight here between Albert No, Francois Brou, and Peter Lausen. These three have had a bit of a scrap. Look at Lausen turning hard left and splitting Albert No. Look at Francois Brou.
Going to go on the right-hand side, going to get ahead of the number 181, and here comes Peter Lausen, also trying to skate on through. Almost makes a lunge on Francois Brou, but backs out of it.
That was excellent driving there by both those cars. Here comes Albert back to the inside, and he's going to opt out of lunging down the inside in this particular complex. Probably for the better. While this scrum continues, Ken O'Seal's dropped off of the Chrissy versus Alessandrini battle, and this actually reminds me a lot of what happened at Okayama, where Pilata was chasing Alessandrini, or maybe it was vice versa. They were always within half a second. It was a bit more volatile at the front than it is here tonight so far, but let's not count out that 6.
Yeah, I was going to say how O'Seal effectively lost the slipstream. Jack Chrissy, the last remaining one in the coattails of the 61. Let's continue to look at this battle going on for 10th. And looking back at the leaders, there's Chrissy closing the gap now, 0.3 of a second behind.
Yeah, use the front straightaway to close in as tight as he's been since the drop of the green. And I'm just curious if Jack's usage of the rear tires have been a little bit more exciting than Alessandrini's. You saw DJ sliding around, but that could have been a one-off. You can get within 2.5 tenths going on to the front stretch. I think you're almost guaranteed at least a side-by-side in turn 1. But then, DJ's not going to let you have the right, so then you have to get creative.
Yeah, then it's just a matter of trying to see if you can kind of last throughout that turn 2, turn 3 complex, just kind of keeping alongside. If you can, you might be able to muster something out of it, but it's easier said than done. But Chrissy is looking like he might start, he's pushing that car a little bit harder now. Whoa. In fact, his fastest lap is obviously due to the slipstream. He's about 4 tenths up on DJ as he's been sliding around there out of turn 10.
And that fastest lap was last lap around, if that counts. Ooh, DJ, big curb jump there. I think DJ knows when Jack's a little close, and this might be a bit too close for comfort. 4 tenths. And he's going to close to big understeer there for Jack. Yeah, he's going to lose. That was a critical moment. If he gained some time there, he might have had a shot.
It still has a decent way to go. We're approaching halfway, not quite there yet.
Yeah, so Jack made up really only a full tenth. Obviously, as you get closer, that draft picks up. It's more extreme the closer you are, but these things are not punching massive holes in the air. They're pretty little cars, and they have a lot of work to overcome the air resistance anyway because, they're fairly aerodynamic, but they're not exactly Formula One level of efficiency.
No, you don't say.
And they just don't have a lot of power, so they're not pushing through the air very well. So even with the draft, you slow it down with a milk carton on top.
No, honestly. Yeah, these things are only producing about, I think, 160 horsepower, 170 horsepower.
I hope that's 60 faster than my car, but that's besides the point. So this continues. This is still one of the closest battles on the track. Brew and Lausen are going back at it for 10th, but we'll take you there if it gets a little bit more exciting. For the moment, everyone seems pretty content. But this is what we expected out of Zandvoort. It's hard to find an advantage and continue to make it all the way past another driver.
Hard to get, but when you can make a move, you feel very earned. It was hard fought, and you feel like you can kind of do anything. Because it requires so much to get that move done. It requires a lot of setup, a couple corners, a couple laps even prior, and then to execute it as well. It takes a couple corners to potentially a lap to finish off what you started here. As Chrissy Bear is down and Allison Drini down the front straight, he's just a little bit too far back. Yeah, so that was 3.5 tenths leaving the final turn. So that tells me he needs to be within 2 tenths to really effectively make that pass. But he's closer than he's been to see if he can pressure DJ into a mistake. That's rare and hard to come by, but if you're lucky, and it's a Tuesday, and the moon's at waning crescent, and the werewolves are out, maybe you can get it to happen. Gotta be high tide. Bad news for at least one of those, because it's definitely a Wednesday.
Well,
as far as the moon phase.
What's the tide doing today?
I have no clue what the tide's doing today. It is a waxing gibbous today. It's almost a full moon.
I guess that's a dumb question because the tide's doing different things everywhere. Right?
I mean, yes. I hope so. If it is, we got a problem.
I think that's wild, by the way. Tides. Pretty crazy concept. I mean, the moon dragging the water around the earth is pretty cool.
I mean, technically the sun does too.
Yeah. Is there sun tides? Is that?
Well, it's like half the strength of the moon because the moon's significantly closer.
It's half the strength. That's still a lot.
Yeah, because the sun's really massive, but just significantly far away.
Oh, this is news to me. My earth science teacher would be very upset.
I was gonna say I remember that learning that in earth science.
Also, I mean, technically it's not earth science.
I mean, it kind of affects the earth.
Oh gosh, we're getting off track. 10 laps to go. I just think tides are cool. I mean, I just think they're cool. It's a cool concept. Here's Koback on Kevin Zhu. This is battle for 6th, and this is going to be hot and heavy by the end of the front straightaway here. He's going to have a look, see if Kevin goes defensive. He is not going to. Opens the door for the 85, but Koback backs out.
Surprised he left the door open. Oh, well, overshot turn 1. And here comes Koback on the inside now. If he can just stay alongside, Kevin Zhu got a much better run out of turn 1. Koback there, and going to be side by side. Here they come onto the banking in turn 3, and Koback couldn't quite execute the run on exit.
He's locked up on the braking into turn 3. Now he's trying to just gain some overlap here. He can't, and he'll have to sit in line on the run down the hill. And this is where you don't have a ton of aero wash on these cars, but you have a little bit. Following very close is going to be tricky. You just don't have a lot of downforce producing parts on this car. You got the floor, the front wing, and the rear wing, but none of them are, again, these are introductory open wheel cars for the most part.
The simplest wings you can think of.
Well, I mean, it's better than a cereal box duct tape, but maybe not much better than that.
Rich Zwicky, I think, has ran into some issues. He's significantly slower.
Greg Kramer calls downforce false grip. Because you find out when you lose it and you crash, you find out that grip was never really there to begin with. And Richard Sawicki, same thing we saw with Brackman. Dropped a tire in the grass and off and away he went.
Yeah, he's falling back now into the Lausen no battle for 10th place.
And Koback and Zhu a little closer this time. 2.5 tenths back, so this is how close Chrissy's going to need to be, and Chrissy's dropped some time to Alessandrini. Here comes Koback with a run, and now it's going to be a braking duel off into the first corner. And both of them jump on the brakes efficiently. See if Kevin can hang on to this.
Clear of Kevin Zuzu, still has a chance to fight. He tries to pinch on the outside, gets a decent run through turn 2 and into turn 3 now. Go back, got to utilize that banking. Indeed he will, and we'll skate on through to 6th.
It's a great example of using that high lane. More racetrack up there lengthwise so you can carry better speed. With about 8 laps to go, he is on and through. 10 laps to go, and Alessandrini is beginning to advance his lead on Jack Chrissy. And it's Ken Houseel third, 2 seconds back from that. And the closest fight now turns to Richard Sawicki, who's on a recovery drive after that slip a couple laps ago.
Yeah, Jack Chrissy, I think, is wishing they had an overtake button to use because he's started to lose touch with DJ a little bit around a second behind as Swicky's on the back of Albert. No
DRS on these things.
I was going to say, the way the wing's configured almost looks like it's in its DRS configuration. You can't make it much flatter.
PP2 engine. Not even. So next time by will be 7 laps to go. Laps are counting down, and I think Chrissy's got pace to run DJ down if he's not in the draft anymore. That was a big lockup there for Sawicki down into the chicane.
Was Sawicki or no the lockup?
Oh, I guess I wasn't really looking, was I?
I think it was Albert. No.
Was it? Maybe where he locked up and made it look like it was coming from Sawicki. You're right. It looked. I just caught it at the tail end. That's my excuse. When Richard was driving through the smoke.
Back on the front straight, Sawicki getting a run, and Albert, no, not quite close enough to make a dive into turn 1. So he will sit back in behind, ride the train.
Ooh, good exit.
Yeah, got a great exit. I don't know if he's quite got anything here for turns 2 and 3, but if he can nail turn 3, he can get a great run through the S's, and he might get one here.
Yeah, up on the high side there. Got the pedal smashed to the floor. There's your overtake button. Like I said, you kind of treat it like an on-off switch a little bit, leaving corners. There's not really a lot of power to have to fluctuate with. See just the balance you have to get the thing turned in well. And Richard's got a nice run here, but this is such a challenging spot on the track to overtake. I wouldn't go for it here necessarily, but he's going to try it. Let's see how this works.
Great setup through turn 8 into turn 9. And this is really tricky because it's so tempting. You want to get back on the power, but you got to wait a little bit longer than you think. And Sawicki actually backs out of it, tries to get a better exit.
Up onto backstretch, heading towards the chicane. This is still the closest battle on the racetrack as the lead gets a little further apart. Sawicki throwing this car around. He's used to driving an NB generation Mazda Miata, so he knows his way around a lightweight rear drive car. And his Miata might even have more downforce than this thing does. Not even joking. Might. Maybe not. He doesn't have the carbon floor, does he? Here he comes to the inside of Albert No for 11th.
Side by side for them down the front straightaway, and Swicky's got the higher rate of speed heading into turn 1. Can he execute the dive? No, still trying to fight on that outside. Is still there. And almost clear, but there's a wing.
Now defending on the inside is pretty hard here because you're going to get pinned down on that bottom, but No drives it in deep. And there's Sawicki throttling up on the outside. Almost a touch there between the side pods as they come up over the crest, and Sawicki's through to P11.
I think what he needs to do is really just he should have tried to kind of throw it in there and kind of slide job up the corner. You know, you got the NASCAR banking, you got to drive it like a stock car.
Yeah. Like Darlington, ripped the high lane, track too tough to tame.
Yeah.
With that, it kind of throws some water on the last embers of the close battles that we were watching. And we'll jump back up to the front here to catch DJ Alessandrini picking up what should be 5 or 4 laps to go. Got about 6 minutes and 20 seconds left at the stripe.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jack Chrissy has lost the slipstream, so he's kind of drifted off. And in fact, you can see everyone kind of separated around 2 seconds. DJ, Chrissy, Houseel, Bellotta, and then it's another 8 seconds back to Ryan Carwell. There he is.
Wow, that is no man's land, isn't it? Holy cow. And he's got a couple drivers close enough in the rear view that they're going to be annoying. He can't slow up. He's got to still drive pretty hard. Go back and Zoo. This might reignite here between the 85 and the 2.
Yeah, Zoo's been keeping Kovac honest. He's been trying to get utilize that slipstream, get closer and closer, and he has been inching closer and closer to the 85.
Yeah, He's, again, in the slipstream, you have a chance as long as you can at least match the pace of the car ahead, because if you can match it and you add the slipstream, generally that's enough to overcome pace, at least momentarily.
He made a huge amount of time there through the S's. Now downhill. He is definitely there.
And back to Sawicki and No. We'll not switch to it just yet, but they're also closing back in on each other. The accordion plays one note and then the other. I need Jake Sperry for all the isms. Whoa, they both made a mistake. Kevin off too far to the left, Kovac too far to the right. This is going to re-engage this fight.
It really is. It's heading to the chicane. It's going to be now Kevin Zhu's job to just make sure he gets a better exit. And nails the run on the straight. Oh, threw it in there a little bit too hard. The rear end came around on him, and he pretty much lost everything he could have gained. As 14 comes out of pit lane, sort of.
He had some damage to the left front. I wonder if we can find potentially where it had come from. Well, it had to have been in this corner.
Oh, yeah,
right here.
Right here.
Ooh, too close to the edge of the road. Look out. Gosh, he almost had it too. And ooh. Back to 6th place, Kovac and Zhu.
Zhu riding the curbing in turn 1 to get the car to rotate, trying to get back. I got him. Kovac wasn't able to get alongside this time, but he's significantly closer than he was the lap before. Whoa, and Kovac almost a little bit too aggressive of a run. Here comes Zhu with the run off of turn 3. And he's going to utilize slipstream. Is he going to try to peel out, make it side by side?
Not here. I've seen cars go through here side by side. I've never seen cars go out of this corner side by side. Ooh, good, the thing bottom out. Whoa, that's a little close to the edge of the road. Where my cat just appeared from out of nowhere to grab my sweatshirt strings. Just teleported under my desk. What? Oh, Kevin. Big bobble, and he's going to lose some time. That will turn that battle off for the time being. Jay lonely up at the front. Just
I don't think he's going to feel lonely once he gets to victory lane, has the trophy in the hand.
No, it's pretty much the most important thing. And, you know, he's just been clinically taking down opponents in this series week after week after week, and he's about to go do the same thing in the Porsche Cup side in the Grid Life race coming up here shortly on Sim TV. So,
is he going to be in the Porsche Cup, or is he going to be in GT4 like last week?
I think he'll be back in the Porsche Cup. I think he finds that car a bit more challenging, and if there's anything I know about DJ, it's half of the battle is the challenge. I actually vastly prefer the way that the 991 generation Cup car drives. I think it is a lot more lively and doesn't push as much and just has more feel. But I think because of that, that's why DJ likes the other one. He likes the new one because it doesn't feel like anything. Maybe I think it's just a challenge, and that's what he likes.
I'm not good enough in either of those cars to have an opinion on them. So.
Oh, I'm not either. I just have an opinion. I'm just always cautious of taking the super esports mindset and applying it to realism.
I am bad at driving both.
Yes.
I wish it was better at driving. It's a really fun car. Or it seems like it's a very fun car to drive.
Porsche Cup car? Oh, yeah. I mean, even the new one is fun. The other one is just so much more lively in the rear. But it actually rotates. Maybe that is unrealistic, but either way. I just find it very strange that the old car and the new car drive totally different, considering it's a new car, but it's generational, so it's not like they started from scratch. So you'd think that they would be a little bit more similar. But regardless, 2 laps to go here, just barely.
Yeah.
And 30 down there at turn 1. The only battle that's remotely close is Richard Sawicki and Albert No here for 11th. 3 retirements. Daviel Mercado, Tala Sadiq, and Mike Leader was out. Did we see what happened to Mike? Oh, he was involved in that crash with Tala.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of them called it quits.
Yep.
Mercado, not sure what happened to him.
Well, he was on. No, you're right. That was who were we looking at a moment ago in pit lane?
That was Nick Brunet.
Yeah.
Oh, for Mercado, he actually had a big wipeout in turn 3 in lap 8.
Or get you.
Yeah, he got loose and snapped straight into the wall head on.
Well, that's not fun. I actually, when I was doing the thumbnail for the next race in the Porsche Cup car. Locked up the brakes in that corner, or not turn 3. It was, what's this, the downhill fast one right after that?
I think turn 6.
What's it called? What's it called on your Scheivak?
Yes.
Scheivak. Either way, that one. And I crashed really hard. So that's a hard corner. And clouds are coming over the racetrack here. Track temp has been fluctuating around 90 degrees all day long, but the hottest commodity around is DJ Alessandrini, and this is going to be the last lap here in Circuit Park Zandvoort.
Yep, white flag in the air for DJ, and he's got 3 seconds cleared to Jack Chrissy and a couple seconds back to everyone else. So he's going to be pretty much chilling, as he has been since pretty much the drop of the green flag. I guess you can't say he's been chilling since the drop of the green flag, because, yeah, Jack Chrissy keeping him behind, keeping him honest. Chrissy got close a couple times, but unfortunately wasn't quite meant to be there. Kind of lost track in the second half of the race.
Yeah, the first half he was doing really well, but as soon as he lost that draft, and it wasn't like it was all at once, like he made one big mistake. It was just, couple laps, 2 or 3 laps. He was on the edge of it for a while. He was about 6, 7 tenths back. And much beyond that, you don't get any effectiveness in these cars. So once he was beyond that point and didn't have the pace to match DJ, it was just a matter of time. And trouble for Richard Sawicki on the final lap, and he's out.
Uh-oh.
Was by himself, too. And just runs wide and gets in the gravel, and it snaps, and bam, big hit.
Oh.
That was enough to end his day. Wasn't the greatest of days anyway, but didn't turn it around either.
It's just unfortunate you make it all throughout this race, and to wipe out at the last second, it's unfortunate for Sawicki.
Leaving the last couple of corners, DJ Alessandrini continues his trek, and he didn't have any pressure from Pilata today at all. And so for the championship hunt, Pilata's assault will have to refire next week out. DJ Alessandrini from flag to flag stole the pole at the final moment in qualifying and leads every lap of the race here in the DC Region SCCA Virtual Racing League. Zandvoort is won by DJ Alessandrini. Jack Chrissy second, Ken Ausiel third, Pilata fourth. Ryan Carwile snags a top 5 after starting in 6th.
Yeah, solid job for them. As much as they can, they're probably going to feel like they could have done better with the gap delta all the way back. Adam Kovac coming across the line in 6th, Kevin Zhu in 7th as they're working through right there.
Well, riddle me this. Flagman in the foreground here gave us the white flag. And all, as I understand it, all the flagmen around the track are synced.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So why is this one not throwing a checkered and the other one is?
Oh, that's weird.
Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Because I know he threw a white because we saw him throw the white, but either way. Let's have a look. Race results here. Maybe no surprise. Alessandrini wins. Rose a 3.2-second lead over Jack Chrissy, Ken Ausiel, Andrew Pilata, Ryan Carwile, and Adam Kovac. But there were some good battles throughout the rest of the field. We didn't really see or hear much from Todd Rushing after some exciting fights in the early part of the race fitting. He kind of dropped off planet Earth. Peter Lausen had his fair share of excitement, comes home in 10th.
Probably more excitement than he would have wanted, especially after starting up in 5th. We'll come back home in 10th. Looking at the second page results, Alberno, Nathan Brackman. Richard Sawicki, we saw a crash out there in 13th, and pretty much the rest of the finishers all suffered issues. Nick Brunei, Develop Mercado, Tella Sadiq, and Mike Leader in their crash, and going to end up in 16th and 17th.
All right, so with the race complete, round 4 of our points-paying championship. We're going to look down and we'll see if we can chat with any of our podium drivers. We've got Ken Ausiel standing by, 3rd place in this one. A little bit no man's land there, Ken. P3, not a bad night at all on the podium, but never really had a chance to fight up there with Chrissy and Alessandrini. You got close a couple of times, but just couldn't break through that draft barrier and run down those front 2.
Yeah, this track is tough. If you're not in the draft, you're losing time, and then these cars have pretty bad error wash, and it's kind of a tough situation in the final right-hander. The first apex of it, anyway, is like, well, the car just understeers horribly, and you lose ground, and then you make it all back up on the straight, and that's really all you can do.
Yeah, and tell me about driving this racetrack, because I described it at the beginning as being high commitment, and you only have so much to commit with these FAA F4 cars. How hard do you have to drive to extract speed around here, and is it too easy to overstep as well?
So easy to overstep. There's all those 2 like flat, no banking, no elevation change corners, the back-to-back hairpins, whatever they're called. Those 2 are serious commitment, and it's pretty sketchy. And then the only part of the track that kind of really stinks is the banked corner. It's like, seems like some laps you do everything the same and you're just 0.3 slower for no apparent reason. So, but super fun track to lap. So.
Well, I think that sums it up. P3 for Ken Seal, not quite able to get to the top, but not a bad night at all. Ken, thanks for chatting, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Take it easy.
You as well. And Jack Chrissy comes home in second in the number 6. And Jack, you gave it the best effort. You almost had pole, lost it in the last moment by 0.03 of a second, and then kept DJ in touch for half the race, and then slowly slid back. What more could you do? What did you need to run down that 61?
Just less mistakes. I think this car is for some reason is very temperamental with temperature changes. I think with the setup I had. So as soon as kind of the clouds came off after the start of the race, the rear started getting kind of loose into that the right before the hairpin right towards the end. So it's just kind of managing mistakes and stuff like that. And I might have been able to stay in DJ's draft, but DJ was on it tonight. So just trying to stay with them.
It seems like this is a pretty fun racetrack in a car that requires a lot of commitment to go quick. If he'd qualified up front and had the jump on the initial start, you think he could have held him off?
Potentially. I mean, I think it all depends on kind of where you get the runs and stuff like that. I think that second to last corner, as long as you get a run out of that second to last corner, you're probably pretty fine. For the track, it's pretty much impossible with draft or with wash from draft to pass anywhere else. So. Potentially, but we have to find out.
Jack Chrissy, second place tonight in the number 6. Jack, thanks for chatting. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And DJ Alessandrini collecting wins like Pokemon. Grabs Zandvoort tonight. And, well, you stole the pole at the last moment in qualifying, right out of Jack Chrissy's hands by 0.03 of a second to go on to win. Without much contest from anybody, he kept you honest for the first half of the race, and then you did your classic drive away in the second half. What changed in the second half of the race?
Man, I feel like, Jack had great pace tonight, but I was slowly figuring out exactly where to put the F4 car on the weird turn 3 banking thing. And once I kind of figured that out, the advantage he was getting down the front straight kind of started to disappear just because I was getting a really good run out of that. Then he would have aero push through the rest of the lap. So I was just like barely able to just like tick a couple hundredths away. And then I think he dropped dirt one time on the last corner, and that really kills your run onto the front straight. So for Jack, it was a death by 1,000 cuts tonight, and I'm proud of how I drove. I think I just drove like really mistake free, and yeah, I felt pretty lights out. Hopefully I can carry that over to a Porsche Cup car.
Yeah, you got that coming up shortly. We'll let you get going here in just a second. One more question for you. A couple times we jumped on board and we were watching you through some of the flat corners especially, and you were kind of almost driving in a slide a few times. Does that heat up the rear tires a bunch, or is that the way to find speed in this car, is just to have it yaw out a bit?
The tires are very resilient on this car, so yeah, it's weird if you have the car in slip with the rear during the corner, you just get like weirdly good exits. I don't know if like I'm feeling the sensation of the car weird, but yeah, if you get the rear of the car into like a really accurate slip angle, you tend to just get like a little bit extra out of each corner.
Well, DJ, I'm sure we might talk to you again in an hour, so we'll see you there. But congratulations on another win here in the DC region, SCCA VRL, and we'll see you in a bit.
Yep, thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, things are wrapping up here on SimTV, at least for the DC Region Virtual Racing League. Wrapping up from Zandvoort, and Finian, it's been a fun season so far. This is another one of those racetracks I was looking forward to coming to. But as we look on forward, our next round is going to take us to none other than the National Park of Speed, Road America. I call it the Jurassic Park of motorsports. That place is very, very fast, and if there wasn't enough slipstream for you tonight, there's going to be plenty helping next week.
Yeah, I was going to say, going to be a fantastic track to watch. You've seen these guys slipstream one another, use what little they can. We've joked about them not having an overtake button. They're going to feel like they have an overtake button at Temple of Speed.
And we'll see you there next week in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Thanks so much for watching here on SimTV, and we'll see you next time.